There are stacks of dead pigs multiple feet high inside and outside of the facility, emitting these hazardous gases.
Welcome to the Hen Report. This is Jasmin Singer.
This is Mariann Sullivan.
And we're so happy you're with us. This is part of our Hen House. You already know by now that Rising Anxieties comes out on Tuesday. The Hen Report, which is this, comes out on Thursdays. And the long-form interview comes out most Fridays. The Animal Law Podcast on the last Friday of the month. If you don't feel like remembering that, then just subscribe and it'll all magically appear for you. And if you're in the flock, which thank you. If you are, bonus for your block membership comes out on Tuesdays. Yeah.
So, Tuesdays is right? Because Vicky yelled at us that we got it wrong.
Oh, no. It is Mondays. But the reason we keep saying Tuesdays is because that's on our notes sheet. I'm going to change that now.
So it's Monday. It used to be Tuesday, and now it's Monday.
That's correct.
I'm all confused.
It used to be. We're a podcast and we're on YouTube, so please subscribe and like wherever you listen. Okay.
And even wherever you don't listen.
And so I have to tell you that I was getting a lottery ticket because anytime I feel financial strife, I legit go and buy a lottery ticket. Like that's how I deal.
Yeah, I never buy lottery tickets.
That's because you're always astounded.
I think that I'm hopeless.
Well,
because I'm always what?
You're always astounded when you don't win.
It's always very, very disappointing when I don't win. But I think also, in another way, I never expect anything good to happen. So I don't know.
Okay. Well, I see where
other people seem to get so much pleasure out of them. And I think once I buy it, I'm pretty sure I'm going to win. And so it's always just buying disappointment.
It's totally buying disappointment.
It's like I'm so not a gambler. Like going to casinos. I've always explained why I don't like to go to casinos and play the games is because it's just spending money for anxiety.
I like,
which I really don't need more of.
I like spending money on anxiety because I just opt in for the ridiculous. But when it comes to lotto tickets, here's what happens in my brain. I am like thinking of something that I would really like to have in my life, whether it's, financial security or like a particular type of electric car that I can't afford, whatever. And
financial security is it's a very valuable thing, but
I know.
You could think of something a little bit more entertaining.
Well, I think of many entertaining things that I would like to spend money on. Right. And then what I do, like, for example, I want to build a catio with this little tunnel that goes out of our basement window and like winds up in our sun porch.
Yeah, I would like one of those too.
So
maybe we could get a deal on 2 of them.
Or we could get one with a really long tunnel from your house to my house. But what happens is that then I think I can't afford that, and then I go buy a lottery ticket, and then I just assume I'm gonna win, and I don't need to think about it anymore.
I honestly don't know why I don't use that as
it's a coping mechanism.
I think I just can't bear the disappointment when I don't win.
I keep touching my eye because I got my eyelashes done today, and it keeps kind of like
we can
touching
all see that. Well, at least those on YouTube can see it.
They're so cute. But anyway, it keeps like closing because it's like getting attached to a lower lid eyelash, like a real one. I digress. Okay, so the reason that I wanted to bring up the lotto was not just to explain how I buy
for this
anxiety,
for this exciting conversation,
but it's because when we pulled up to the 7-Eleven, which for those of you not in the U.S., A, lucky you, B, can you adopt me?
I think there are 7-Elevens everywhere,
and C, oh, really?
I don't think it's just you.
All right, whatevs.
I think so.
It's a convenience store. And so we pull up, and outside is like a giant ad for the New York Lottery. And the ad says, you could be winning while deciding between oat and almond milk. I'll say that again.
So cool.
You could be winning
so cool
while deciding between oat and almond milk. And I stared at it, and I was like waiting for the punchline to be like, about the vegan, or like about the oat milk. Like I'm like,
you loser.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, okay, where's the pie to my face?
Clearly you're used to being a loser, so come buy a lotto ticket.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, they just thought that was a good way to appeal to a lot of people.
And so I sent it to you. I'm thinking, like, am I the only one? I said to you, I think this is a little pathetic how excited I am about this. And and you said yeah, but it's, what did you say, that it's sort of like when it
I think it's both pathetic and actually kind of a big deal,
mm-hmm.
because you take all of these pathetic little tiny little steps towards, people getting it, and people, and veganism becoming normal, and they all seem stupid, and why am I getting so excited? And but you put them all together, and I mean, it's the tipping point idea. Like, you put all of these together, and at some point everybody just goes, "Oh my God, why would anyone want to eat animals?"
Right.
Like, I really think that's I really think that's true. I know I am known as despairing and hopeless, but I really think that at some point there's enough out there in the zeitgeist that it normalizes it enough so that people actually look at what we're doing and say, "Oh yeah, I agree with the vegans." Well, they probably wouldn't say that. They would probably still say, "Oh, all those people who've been vegan for a long time are idiots. But now is the moment to be vegan, and that's why I am now." And then they start eating the food and they realize it's totally fine. And we're there.
All right. Well, then
Little tiny steps matter.
is this the end of our hen house? Because we've reached the New
Well,
York.
we're not there
We're not
yet.
there yet.
We're
Okay.
not there yet. Oh, we just made one more tiny little step, but tiny little steps have meaning. You
Or
shouldn't like disdain your level of excitement. And I know you were very, very
I
excited
was.
about it.
Or
And then you felt stupid for being excited. That's the part that you were mistaken about.
or it was
Or
implying that almond milk and oat milk are both expensive and you will only be able to decide between them once you've won the lottery. Ooh, I just took it to a bad place. We were in such a good, happy
no, I
place.
don't think it could even be interpreted that way. And anyway, that's stupid.
Okay.
I mean, in most places, the plant-based option is now no upcharge, so you're fine.
Mm. It's very,
No, that was wrong. You're wrong.
I was,
You're actually wrong about that.
okay. I have to tell you, like, I don't drink coffee that much. I do drink a lot of caffeine, but I don't drink coffee that much. And when I do,
Where do you get your
I take
caffeine?
caffeine pills. I know. I know.
You could be drinking a delicious cup of coffee and instead you take a pill?
I have a,
Like, what is wrong
I
with
have a
you?
funny thing with taste where, like, sometimes I am completely revolted by certain tastes, and
Oh,
it,
are you pregnant?
that would be a miracle.
Isn't that a
On,
thing? Like, everybody suddenly hates the taste
well,
of
it's
coffee
not
when they're
just coffee.
pregnant?
It's like I will eat a particular type of pasta and love it, and one day I'll be like, this is revolting. And so anyway, the reason I brought that up is because when I do drink coffee, I know you're rolling your eyes at me because this is video, but
Well, it just sounds idiotic.
okay.
It does. I'm sorry. Or don't everybody write
Yeah,
into
right
me.
into
I
her.
know.
Right
I'm
into her.
sorry I was mean to Jasmine. I'm sorry.
That should be
But
the name of the podcast.
it's just weird. I mean, it's not idiotic, I guess. If you hate it, you hate it. But it's just
But
weird.
I drink tea sometimes, and I used to drink caffeinated seltzer, but then Target stopped making it for some reason, and we can't find it anywhere else. So I drink that, like,
I also think it's very sad because coffee is just one of the
when
most
I like
delightful
it, I love
things.
it. I really do. So when I do drink it, I try to go to like a cute little neighborhood coffee shop, you know, like a mom and mom or a pop and pop or a mom and pop. Did you see how I made that gay? Coffee shop, and I didn't want to be so heteronormative and saying mom and pop.
Or, one owned by somebody who doesn't have children.
Oh, right. I never thought about that. Mom, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. Wow, Jasmine.
Broaden
However,
your horizons
I
here.
was I was like at the grocery store, and next to the grocery store is a Starbucks, and I needed to kill some time. And so I'm like, do I have the Starbucks app still? And I open it and I have like $7 on it. So I go and I get myself a latte, and I think
I know you truly believe that if you have money on your
it's
Starbucks app,
free.
that means it's
I
free.
know, I do.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, I know it's wrong, but it doesn't matter. Like, I don't need to rationalize that. But anyway, so I haven't gone to Starbucks in so long that I think this is my first time not paying the upcharge. And it was glorious because it was only fairly recently that they stopped.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no. It feels so much better.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't buy that much coffee outside. I like to make my own coffee, but when I do, I it infuriates me if there's an upcharge.
Yeah, and you don't want to infuriate Mariann.
And can I just add the expression, I know it's wrong, but it doesn't matter, is exactly what's wrong with the world. Just saying.
Wait, did I say that?
Just saying. You just said it.
What did I say it? Oh, I said it regarding the. Okay, so are you saying
About
that
thinking anything on your app is free.
are you saying that I am what's wrong with the world? Is that the point of the because like this
I think that thought process. No, I don't think that you're what's wrong
this
with
like
the world. I think
mid-40s
that thought process is it causes a lot of. I mean, that's what people say all the time. I know it's wrong, but I don't really care.
okay. As long as it's not this like 45-year-old childless
Although actually,
vegan
people
lesbian.
are usually saying, I know it's morally wrong, but I don't care. But it doesn't matter. And you were actually saying, I know it's incorrect.
Also, I'm being funny. I mean, I am. Like it's funny to me to be like, it's free. I know what you're thinking. Stop knowing me. Jesus Christ. Let's move
All right.
on.
Can we move on? Because this is tedious.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about something I heard on a podcast because I'm listening to way too much.
We know.
Way too much about the real
We know.
world these days.
As we know.
And it was an interview with Chris Murphy, the Democratic senator from Connecticut, who, is very good on a lot of things and who I really like in a lot of ways. And he was talking about immigration, and he repeatedly said how ICE is treating immigrants like, quote, animals, and they are animalizing. I mean, it was over and over. Sometimes he used dehumanizing, which is kind of the same thing, but a little better. And I just find this expression infuriating. They are actually ICE is actually treating immigrants the way people with power have always treated people without power. It's not. I mean, people with power like that who are in that ilk. They don't have to think of humans as animals in order to treat them horribly. They're perfectly capable of treating other humans horribly. So it's not even true that they think of them as animals. And it is true that they actually are in some ways treating them like animals. But the implication here is that it's okay to treat animals that way, and it's not okay to treat humans that way. And I think that it's an infuriating expression, and he should stop. The way they say it, or the way he was saying it, makes it sound like that's the way animals are supposed to be treated. That's fine for animals, and that's not the way people should be treated. The whole expression makes me crazy.
You should write
I
to
just
him.
wanted to let everybody know that. I know I should. I'm going to. There, I committed to it.
Okay. You have to send me proof of that after you do it.
Like, you don't believe me? I do not lie.
You don't lie, but you forget.
I occasionally lie.
Yeah, you do. You tell me.
Everybody occasionally lies.
I think sometimes little white lies is the best way forward.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely. Like, sometimes lies are appropriate. That's why it would be ridiculous to say that lying should be like made criminal. The only kind of lies that should be made criminal, and which can be made criminal under the U.S. Constitution, though that's kind of a moving target, isn't it? Are fraud. Where you're cheating somebody out of something, where they're losing something, but just a lie. There's this kind of famous case, which I think goes as far as it can go, where this guy would dress up as a veteran, like I guess as an officer, and tell all these stories of how he was a war hero or whatever. And he wasn't. He had never been in the military. And there was a law that was passed called the Stolen Honor Law, and it was made illegal to lie about your military service. And the courts held that it was unconstitutional because there was no evidence. I mean, in this particular prosecution, there was no evidence that he was cheating anybody. He wasn't getting money out of them or anything. He was just lying. I mean, you can be a total asshole, which that guy clearly was, a total asshole, but you can pretty much lie as long as you're not actually hurting somebody in some substantive way. Well, that was a digression. All right, let's get into some articles, because I feel like we're just bullshitting our way through this entire episode.
But half of our audience loves that and half hates it. So now that we've
I'm sorry to half of you.
Okay. And to the other,
and you're welcome
to the other half.
All
right, so let's talk about whey. No way. And we were kind of on the fence about whether to talk about this.
No way is that's a great. I want a sticker that says no way.
Okay, we'll get you one. I can make them now. I have a cricket. Oh, okay, funny little thing. I have a cricket which
Digression,
yeah, but it's
digression,
like a
non-substantive
I know, but
digression.
it's like a crafting cutter machine, and I also have an inkjet printer, and I made you a magnet of you and Lulu, your dog. And now I can make stickers too. But anyway, so I was texting with Marisa Miller Wolfson of Vegucated fame, and I said something about how I had a cricket, and she said so did she. And then she's like, "We must be middle aged." It was funny. Okay, back to No Way, which is the sticker I'm gonna make you. So it's like once literal cheese sludge is apparently now a wellness darling because of this whole protein fad that Americans are hooked on protein like it's a miracle drug, and it's largely due to CrossFit culture and Ozempic culture and keto culture, and so whey is apparently having a moment, and cheesemakers are saying that they barely make money on cheese anymore, and that it's the leftover liquid. And so this is covered by the New York Times. It's absolutely revolting and disgusting, and it's just this whole thing about dairy. And I I was talking to you about this, and I said, "How much do you want to bet that there was money exchanged?" By the way, this is a conspiracy theorist. Theory. I'm making this up. But how much do you want to bet that this was a paid-for article in some way?
Yeah. I mean, it is the New York Times, which is a pretty reputable outfit,
Right.
but
No, I know.
who
I love the
knows?
New York
And
Times.
we're not we don't
We
have any
no, no,
inside
no,
information.
no.
It's a huge, huge article, and I don't know why they I mean, I guess it's of interest to some people. It does make it look disgusting. And yeah, it's because of the protein craze. Apparently there's protein in whey. It's in all the protein powders. And
Well,
I
not
guess
all
it's
of them.
considered good. So yeah, I mean, loads of pictures of these like cute little cheese makers.
Yeah.
It's just, oh, come on, people, let's move on. It is like one of those things where all of these industries call things byproducts, but actually it's like with pet food, like
Hmm.
like everything that brings income to the factory farmers or the cheesemakers or whatever. Everything that brings income is part of the profit, and whey has now become an enormous part of the profit, particularly of people who use dairy for cheese. And cheese is like the big item. I think people don't drink as much milk, but there. And I mentioned a few weeks ago that methane is another, and we'll talk more about that in relevant to another article. Methane is now a byproduct but they're not byproducts. I just said it myself. They're all part of the income stream, and
Right.
you cut out one of these income streams and you destroy the industry because they need all of it, because they can't sell milk very much anymore. Nobody drinks milk.
Yeah, exactly. It's
And if they do, as we showed at the lottery ticket, they're either drinking almond or oat.
I mean, too bad they're not drinking soy because that's the best one. And
That
you're
is the
right. This
best.
is this is about turning every last drop of animal exploitation into a revenue stream.
Yeah, into money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that cheerful note,
And it's just the whole tone is that typical, like, New York Times, like, folksy. Mr. Hyman, which is the guy at the dairy, is a gregarious, cheerful man with a large walrus mustache. You know, Move on, people.
oh, that's funny because before we started recording, I was talking about my mustache. And you said, "Are we going to talk about mustaches?" And I said, "No." And here we are talking about mustaches. Okay.
All right, our next article
I'm a Jewish Italian person. We're a hairy bunch.
is a question that many of us are asking.
It's about bird
Where did
flu.
bird flu go? This is from Scientific American.
Hmm.
And as we all know, we all thought we were going to die, and we're still here.
Yeah, for
Um,
now.
Bird flu is nearly everywhere in the US, in chickens, cows, pet cats, and even humans. Cases have gone down, but experts warn that it hasn't disappeared. And this article is really, really not about the fact that bird flu is gone. It's about the fact that bird flu is not gone. And one reason is that it's seasonal. That's a really important thing like many flus. But it's also because of the migrating patterns. The major way that bird flu is spread, or
Mm-hmm.
one of the major ways, is migrating birds. And so it spreads during migrating seasons. Nobody's migrating at the moment.
Yeah,
Um,
it evolved. And
it is not, according to all of these scientists, particularly this Jennifer Nuzzo, an epidemiologist at Brown, it's not gone, and it's not just vanishing on its own. And she said that's just not how flu viruses work. That's just not what happens. And but it is very low. They're killing far fewer chickens. According to this article, they reported just 3 million poultry birds killed by the virus or culled to stop it in March and April. Oh, only 3 million, which is immeasurably smaller than the numbers that they were killing before that. And so this story is not over.
all this
We
is
have also stopped reporting on it because there's not much to report, but
we've
it's not
stopped
over.
reporting on it, but federal agencies are also pulling back. Like the safety net is full of holes, and the our complacency, our silence is it's liability. I mean, this is exactly when we need surveillance and transparency and biosecurity, and not after the next spillover, but we see which direction this is going in.
Yeah, well, that's the other really scary part is, if you're not looking for it, you're probably not going to find it. I mean, if it was breaking out the way that it was, you know,
Yeah.
6 months ago, they wouldn't have to be looking at it. But there's a lot. They've never looked very very deeply for its appearance in humans, and there are only 70 confirmed cases in humans so far.
Mhm.
But and they don't think they're missing really a lot of them, but they don't think that number is accurate. Anyway, um,
All right.
as this other scientist said, no news in my world is not good news. We're just not collecting any data. And those are two very, very different things. It's a good quote. Keep tuned because it's probably going to be back.
Something that we've talked about throughout the years here and there are like labels and what to label ourselves and what to label foods. And I mean, there have been studies over the years. I remember there was a moment in time, I hated this, where someone came up with the idea that it's better to say meat free instead of vegan. I mean, there's
No,
just
that was
yeah, that
ridiculous.
was ridiculous. I've been having a cute little dog on my lap this whole time. By the way, she got her DNA results back and she's Chihuahua, as we know, rat terrier, and a little poodle. Isn't that cute? Okay.
I don't.
Anyway,
What's a rat
it's
terrier?
like a
I've never
farm
heard of a
dog.
rat terrier.
Um, but she's just perfect. So we've talked about labels. June, by the way, my dog right here, doesn't like any of those labels that I just said. She just wants to be herself with no labels. We've talked about the importance of labels. We've talked about the sometimes people don't want to have any. We've talked about that, but there is this wild thing that I think it was Veg Out just reported on. The exact same dishes, right? Like mushroom quesadillas, black bean tostadas, cauliflower tacos, performed radically different just by adding a vegan label. So without the label, it sold like hotcakes. Label slapped on, and the sales tanked by half or more.
Yeah, I mean, this is just anecdotal. It's not really a controlled experiment, but it is interesting, and it's the report of this woman, Maya Flores, talking about working at a food truck in Portland. I think it was in Portland. Eh,
I would imagine if it was a
Anyway,
food truck, it was
wherever it
in
was.
Portland.
And a lot of their customers were local construction workers, and she just sometimes she remembered to put the vegan label up because it was important to a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
on their vegan choices, and sometimes she just forgot, and then they ran out of some of the meat, and she suggested to somebody, a regular, that he try the black bean, and he said they were great. He ordered three and came back the next day asking for them specifically. And then she remembered to put the vegan sign up on the black beans, and he stopped ordering them. And she asked him why, and he said, "Well, I need real food today."
Jesus. People are
and he had been eating them and ordering them. And then she just gave a lot of examples of this. On unlabeled days, we'd move 50 to 60 black bean tostadas during lunch rush. With the vegan label, 25 to 30 max. The cauliflower tacos dropped even more dramatically, from selling out to barely moving a dozen. The problem she had was that some of her customers really wanted the vegan label, and people are in a difficult position. I just thought, like, it's anecdotal, it's not proof, but I just thought, it rings really true.
Yeah.
We know exactly what's going on here.
Yeah. Yeah. That's not surprising. It's just annoying.
She in another time, when she talked somebody into the mushroom because they were out of the al pastor, he ordered one with the expression of someone agreeing to a root canal. But then he ate them, and he ordered more, but he didn't go back to his crew to eat them. He ate them there, and looked her in the eye and said, "This never happened." It's like, men are just weird. I have to say, would a woman care whether people knew she ate a vegan
No,
meal?
because of the whole masculinity
All right,
thing.
not all men, not all men, not all men.
Okay.
Sorry.
But there's still this ridiculous notion that it's not masculine to.
Yeah.
It's so much more, it's so much hotter. And that's coming from like a big old lesbian like me. All right.
Yes, I'm sure they really care.
So it turns out, let's move on. It turns out that those feel good green, quote unquote, methane digesters at Iowa's Seaboard Triumph pork plant are anything but. This is not a surprise. Do you want to talk about this?
This is a disgusting article, and I'm not going to be able to talk about the whole thing. I do highly recommend that you look it up. It's unsentient. At an Iowa pork plant, piles of dead pigs and wafting sulfur dioxide, and they have a lot of pictures, and they have a lot of very specific reports. And this has to do, again, with this methane thing. And I've talked before about how this is big in the dairy industry, but this is the pig industry. And they have these anaerobic digesters, and they use these as proof of their environmental stewardship. This is in Sioux City, Iowa, and at the Seaboard Triumph Foods slaughterhouse. And so they have these anaerobic digesters, and this is the way they harvest methane, which they're producing. Like, if they weren't doing what they were doing, they wouldn't be producing methane, which is a greenhouse gas. And then they take the manure from pork production. So maybe it isn't a slaughterhouse. I don't know. But here they have these lagoons connecting the manure, blood, and guts of thousands of hogs. They kill something like more than 20,000 a day. The pictures are not to be believed. Not to be believed. It's so awful. And it's one of the issues. I mean, one of the issues is that they're producing methane, which we really don't need. But nobody seems to think that's a problem. But when you produce biomethane from like these deteriorating pigs and whatever, it also produces hydrogen sulfide and other contaminants, and they're supposed to use a scrubber, but they do not put money into this, apparently. And the hydrogen sulfide becomes sulfur dioxide, which is poisonous, and they've been spewing it into the air. Also, people who work there have reported getting serious respiratory issues. There are stacks of dead pigs multiple feet high inside and outside of the facility, emitting these hazardous gases. This is the most disgusting story I have seen in a while, and I see a bunch of them. I won't tell you anymore. It's just too disturbing.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been complaints of labor violations, and there's all this financial stuff in here about how it's easier for them to pay the penalty than to lose the money. That's how bad the penalties are. And it's just a disgrace. I mean, like, Sioux City must be a nightmare.
Corporate greenwashing at industrial scale.
Oh, it's awful. It's just like, in the context of all of the awful things we talk about all the time, this is unbelievably awful. I'm sorry.
So let's
I'm
take a
sorry.
moment to celebrate some serious wins for animals. And for the
no,
planet.
from now on, just good news.
Okay. The NIH just made a historic move. No more exclusive funding for animal experiments. That's a huge step toward.
Well, they're no longer seeking. The title of the article might be a little deceptive, because in the article it says they will no longer seek research proposals that are for projects exclusively involving animals.
Well,
They're not making as far as I know, any absolute commitment, but this is still
It's a big step.
huge,
Yeah.
huge progress, and is in accordance with the NIH's, many moves on this topic of late, which is just extraordinary. They have people there who actually think that animal experimentation is not the
I
future.
love it.
All right, I said I would be fast.
Over
All right.
in Denmark, meanwhile, the government is backing plant based meals in schools and investing millions in sustainable food systems. That's,
Yeah, this is really impressive, I have to
let's
say.
go. Let's go to Denmark.
Um, Yeah, and because Denmark, it's a very meaty country and they have
Mhm.
a huge pig industry for a tiny country, like a huge pig industry. But they're really moving on the plant-based stuff and they want to promote and inspire increased and targeted plant-based funding and plant-based action at an EU level, which
Mhm.
would be huge. And some countries are supportive. Switzerland is mentioned here, while Spain, Italy, and France are not. They're renewing the legal debate over the use of meaty words on plant-based product labels. So a lot of stuff going on in Europe. There are obviously people on both sides in all of these countries, and but Denmark is really, stepping into the future here.
Amazing. Meanwhile, in Oregon, a grassroots community stopped a massive chicken factory farm after 5 years of fierce organizing. So, this is proof that local action works. This should give us all a bit of hope.
Absolutely.
This is amazing.
Yeah, this was a recent report. It actually happened a couple of months ago, and I don't think we reported on it at the time. This is from Vegan FTA. And I just really loved the way it started. This is a rural community, and it started when this woman who worked at a farm store learned of Foster Farms' plans for this facility from a land scout who came into her store. And she mentioned, I guess, that there might be some concerns. And he reportedly said, "Oh, what is that? One or two people? They obviously don't have any money. We don't have to worry about them." And she got on it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't piss people off in rural
I
Oregon.
love it. So plant-based meat, for those of you who have people in your life who only care about the health side of things for now, plant-based meat just got another nod from CNN, and this time it was for its positive impact on wellness, like lower cholesterol and a longer health span. I want to add that I had my blood work done this past week, and my cholesterol is should be on a billboard, basically. The New York Lotto should borrow my cholesterol numbers and say you could be winning by having this vegan lesbian's cholesterol numbers while you're buying your lottery ticket.
Well, the thing I thought was really great about this article, which is by Sandy Lamont, is the title. Eating this ultra-processed food may be good for you and the planet, experts say. And I just feel, I mean, everything in here indicates that they finally might be moving on from this ridiculous ultra-processed category, which includes some foods that are good for you, some foods that are not good for you. And it's not a good way, and it's basically been the industry talking about all these plant-based foods, which most plant-based foods are not ultra processed. They're right off the tree or the out of the ground. But in order to imitate meat products, they've done some processing to them. It doesn't mean that they're bad for you, and it certainly doesn't mean that they're any worse for you than meat-based foods. This is a very long article, but they go into that a lot. So if this is a topic you get asked about a lot, I highly
And
recommend
we link
reading
to
it.
all these articles. For the first time in our henhouse history, I'm going to say, and in sports news, a vegan
No,
triathlon.
we've had sports before.
Okay, you're right. We have interviewed some excellent ethical athletes. But a vegan triathlete just became the German champion, crushing stereotypes along with the competition. This is a fun
Yeah, this is
story.
from Plant-Based
Mm-hmm.
News. Always love to hear about it. This guy is Max Hoffman, and he competed in the middle distance race, which doesn't sound like the middle to me. It's 1.2 miles of swimming, 56 miles of cycling, and 13.1 miles of
Oh,
running.
that's funny. I did
That's a
that. I did
big
that
middle.
this morning. Just kidding.
Anyone?
That's awesome.
Always love to hear about a vegan winning.
Yeah, me too. Well, a vegan is winning just by being vegan. And I like this because momentum is on our side, and that's what these articles are showing. The tides are shifting.
I also have one article which I don't think was on your list, but I'm just going to mention it
Okay.
because it's about James Cromwell. It just has a great quote in it.
Okay.
The whole article is about the making of Babe. It's not all about it's mostly about James Cromwell. It's not all about veganism. But this was the title. I went vegan on the second day of filming. James Cromwell on Making Babe. I broke for lunch before everybody else, and all the animals I had been working with were on the table, cut up, fricasseed, roasted, and seared. I just thought it was a great, great quote.
Yeah, that's a really good
That
quote.
might give people a moment of thought.
And speaking of a moment of thought, I know that you are so excited by the interview that you recently did with John Senbin-Matsu, and he had a really great review come out on Forbes.com.
Yeah, this is his book, The Omnivore's Deception, and I highly recommend hearing the interview. But I was really excited to see this mainstream review. It's by Girl Scientist, who apparently appears in Forbes anonymously. But what an amazing review.
Was it you?
A brilliantly argued dismantling of Michael Pollan and other supporters of the meat economy who lie to the public by claiming that we can have our meat and our morals too. I mean, to see this in Forbes is just really, really fulfilling. I'll just take one more quote out of it. Professor Senbon-Matsu focuses on the myths and self-deceit that we use to maintain our violent domination over other animals, particularly the bullshit myth of the enlightened omnivore popularized by Michael Pollan and his ilk, such as Temple Grandin and Barbara Kingsolver, who are vocal critics of ethical vegans. A great review. I'm excited to see this book getting out there in the public. I highly, highly recommend it. And, she starts off by saying exactly what I said in my interview, that, this was one of the, or I guess she doesn't start off by saying this, but somewhere in here, that this is just one of the best books she's ever read about a relationship to animals.
That's what you said, yeah.
She says, this is not only the best book I've read this year, but it's the best book I've ever read about the morality of ethical veganism and of animal rights. And I felt the same way. So yeah.
Were you,
Highly
are you
recommend it.
Girl Scientist? Did you write the article?
No, I'm not. Because that would be bad if I was pretending to be a scientist, because I would not know what I was
That would
talking
not be a
about.
little white lie, I suppose. Okay, well, this I like.
No.
I like ending on the positive notes like this. If you do too, then keep us going by leaving a comment on YouTube or a review on Apple Podcasts. You can also like this episode on YouTube. And that's it. I'm Jasmin Singer. That's Mariann Sullivan. I have June in my lap. And we'll talk to you next time.